Manchester United are the champions of Europe again.
Hello and welcome back to the One United podcast. I'm joined as ever by Henry. Henry, how you doing?
Yeah, I mean, just listening to that theme tune, we're never going to hear that again, are we?
No.
It's a bit emotional.
Good bit of foresight from us putting that in the introduction, I think, really. But we're also delighted to be joined by Gaz from BBC Radio Manchester. So, Gaz, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
No worries, mate. I've been better. I'm all right. I'm confused. My head feels like there's steam coming out of my head. Like my brain's frazzled this week, mate. I'm not going to lie. So today, if I'm waffling and I'm not making much sense, try and bring me back, because at the minute my brain's frazzled.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, obviously, a couple of days ago, Henry, me and you shared our instant reaction to the news when it came out. But I want to get your thoughts on it initially, Gaz, just as an overview, because obviously you on your radio show you ask a lot of people their opinions, so it'd be good to get your deep opinion on it. So, how are you feeling?
I mean, I feel I don't want to say too much as the same as what everyone said over the last few days, which I could do. I want to start with like a positive. And firstly, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I'm not that this, as if people are watching this, if you think, he's at the BBC, maybe you know someone. I don't know anyone. This isn't from like inside sources or anything like that. This is just me looking at it logically. And I don't think it'll happen. I think that logistically, it just won't make sense. What are they talking about? A minimum 18 games in this competition. There's no way you can play that competition with the Premier League, with the FA Cup, with the League Cup, with football as we know it staying intact. So that's why I don't think that'll happen. As for the main problem with the competition, there are so many issues that we can delve into. You can delve into the greed of the owners and the disrespect that they've given to fans because of this. But I just think that the fundamental problem is that you cannot have a closed competition in football. Like that is just the main issue with it all. Like, if they could reform the Champions League in a way that earns them all extra, millions and billions, there'd be a way of them doing that slyly. But this is tearing apart the fabric of football, and football's always been based on merit, and football's always been based on the idea that theoretically Bolton Wanderers could win the Champions League in 5 years' time. Like, theoretically, it's 11 men versus 11 men, and that's what it's all about. And I understand that there's issues with like the money flow in football. So someone will say to me, yeah, but football's set up so Bolton Wanderers can't win the Champions League in 5 years' time, because it's pretty much impossible, because they don't see as much as the money as these big six. And I understand that, and I agree with that. Like, that is a problem, and the distribution in the Premier League is a problem, and we're seeing EFL clubs go bump, and something does need to change to help those clubs. So I don't want to, because of this Super League, go the other way and say everything's absolutely fine as it is, because it's not. There are problems, but this Super League just seems to be increasing that disparity of wealth and keeping it among the big boys, and basically saying that you lot aren't even going to have a chance to compete with us now. Like, we're on a separate thing. We're better than you. And no one's better than anyone. 11 players v 11 players. It makes no sense, mate.
Absolutely. I think you put it perfectly there. So, Henry, we obviously got your opinion the other day, but you've had a bit of time to process it now, get more facts in and everything. So, how are you now feeling about it?
Oh, I'm even more annoyed than I was in the first place here. And at first, you're kind of a bit numb, and you're a bit, this surely can't happen. But then, as the days progress and more things come out, you think, okay, there's more of a possibility that this actually going through. Clubs are on board. Joel Glazer's put his name on something, which never happens. He hasn't been to Manchester in 2 years. He's never put his name on something. It's usually he'll hand it down to his little minions, Woodward or whoever will put his name on statements and take the rap for it. So he's put his name on this. He's put it's not even a statement out really. It's just a few sentences of bollocks just to justify him getting more money. And it was kind of, as soon as that happened, you think, okay, him and Perez. Perez last night, he was acting like a child. He just went on a massive rant about how football needs to evolve and we need to have shorter games. Right, that guy was either on like LSD or coke before this, or he just had some sort of brain seizure, because there is no way in hell that an owner should come out and say all that stuff. He just sounded ridiculous. He sounded mental. Everyone's going, okay, this guy's just talking rubbish now. But there's a key theme with all these clubs. United are in £400 million worth of debt. Real Madrid, 500 million worth of debt. Barcelona, Spurs are paying off a stadium. Arsenal have only just finished paying off their stadium and they're still in debt. All of these clubs have a consistent theme. Fenway Sports Group, I mean, I thought that club was relatively well run, but clearly they just want more cash, and they don't feel that they're getting enough money. So all of these clubs have a theme where they haven't got enough money, and the Glazers aren't going to pay off our debt. They're not. They just keep servicing it, but they want billions of pounds in their pocket. They want to buy a new Ferrari or whatever. I saw a comment. Joel Glazer wants to buy new fake tits for his wife, which is probably what's going to happen. So these guys have no interest in investing that back into the squads. People saying this will be the elite, players in the best league, whatever. It won't. It won't. And football will just die.
Even if it is. Yeah. Sorry, Henry, mate. Sorry, I know you're in your flow there, mate. But I was just saying, like, even if this competition is the elite players, and like in my head, if it does go ahead, that's what's going to happen. You'll have all of the elite players playing in this competition, because I do think that if it does go ahead, this stuff about banning players from the World Cup and stuff, that won't happen. There's no way FIFA will have the balls to do that, but it'd be incredible. It'll be incredible if they did. But I think we will see the elite in this competition. But who cares? Like, do you care? Like, why am I going to have any attachment to a Super League? Like, that means nothing to me as a fan. You go to the Champions League and you get these incredible ties in the Champions League. Why do you love them so much? You love them because you don't see them every week. You love them because it's new and it's unique, and you finally get to see how your team can face off against the best of Europe in a competitive with a capital C competitive. Because if you're in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, you've not just got through your 6 group stage and got through the round of 16, you've finished in the top 4 the season before. Or if you're one of the teams that's qualified another way, you've had to go through qualifying rounds. And there's so much to it. There's so much emotion attached to it, and you've already given so much of your time to it that you're passionate about it. I'm just not going to care. I'm just not.
It's the beauty of football is that we can one week we can go and beat Liverpool or beat Arsenal or whatever, and then we can go and lose to your Sheffield Uniteds, or you can go and lose in the cup to Rochdale, or you can lose to anyone. You can beat anyone. A closed league without relegation or promotion or anything like that, there's no incentive. There's no incentive to it. Once you've not got a chance of winning it, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to just play games without meaning. This will destroy the nature of the game that we've loved for the last 150 years. It will destroy everything that our clubs stand for. I'm not bothered about reform in football. Reform needs to happen at times. The new Champions League, I mean, it looks a bit crap, but, they could change things. Reform happens. The Premier League was, reformed in 1992. It happens. But what I take issue with is owners coming into our clubs, pissing all over our history, using it in a statement against us, and then moving. We'll be called the Red Devils in 3 years' time with these guys, and we'll be playing in America. They'll burn Old Trafford. It'll be a pile of rubble, and it'll be playing in America.
Have you noticed on the Super League websites, I know that Sky Sports are calling it the ESL, and you're seeing certain people refer to it as the ESL. On the actual Super League website, there's no mention of the word European on that website. That suggests to me one thing, and that's games being played around the world, which I believe that fans around the world should all be able to enjoy football. That's absolutely right, and no matter who you want to support. And this is a point that I want to make here as well, because we've seen apparently Ed Wood would refer to match-going United fans as legacy supporters. And basically the fans that go to the grounds and support the team as legacy supporters. And it's almost been suggested there's a shift that they're not the supporters that they're going to be focusing on from now. It's the worldwide audience from around the world. I almost find that a little bit insulting to the worldwide audience around the world as well, because he's essentially suggesting that foreign Manchester United fans are interested in a competition that has absolutely no history, that goes against everything this club stands for. Foreign United fans aren't fucking stupid. In fact, foreign United fans, a lot of the lads I meet, they're not all touristy happy clappers who turn up to Old Trafford, go to the megastore and get a few pictures. They're not. A lot of these lads travel to Old Trafford and spend their hard-earned money getting here because they're passionate about Manchester United, just as passionate as me or fucking Bill from Stretford. And they get it. They don't want this either. The fans around the world, these fans that apparently United is being aimed at now, they don't want this either. They understand what's at stake, the vast majority of them. So I'm trying to think at who this appeases, who it's actually for, and who, I'm thinking there must be some group of fans somewhere that sort of want this. But it is literally just the owners. It is literally just the CEOs, and it is the people that are going to be sort of lacing their own pockets, if you like. It's honestly, man, I keep trying to play devil's advocate a little bit and try and find something. Like, there must be something they're arguing for, but the fact it's been 2 days and there's not been that much more coming out from him, I'm never going to be convinced, I don't think.
No.
Well, I'll stick with that sort of line of thought then, because we've got a comment saying who's going to be the first club to drop out. We're seeing reports that a few of the clubs are unhappy with the way it's going. It's not what they thought it was going to be. So do you think, well, Henry, do you think someone's going to drop out eventually? And if so, who do you think it is? Because I think we're led to believe that United and Liverpool are really pushing this with Real and Barcelona, and the rest of them are just sort of tagging along for the ride. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, the rest are passengers. They're just there along for the ride for a bit of cash. The first club to drop out in the next week will be City. They'll drop out in the next week. And there's a specific reason why. They've put so much into that football club, and then they've made a huge mistake, and the fans now hate them. The fans absolutely despise those owners. They've made a massive error in judgment. And I don't care whether it's because they felt they were being left behind by the other clubs. You don't do that. You don't sacrifice your club's legacy, and you don't sacrifice your club's history to go into this Super League. You just don't do it. So forget all the other owners. Forget Abramovich. He's a mafia boss who will do what the hell he wants. Forget Levy. He's a penny pincher as well, and he doesn't pay his players what they deserve. Forget the Glazers and John W. Henry. They're obviously going to be the driving force. By the way, we've been saying for 15 years, ever since these guys took over, we've been saying, get rid of them because they are a cancer for this club. And everyone goes, oh, you have no right to complain. You're Manchester United, you spend loads of money, you get loads of money in your club. We saw this happening since the day they got into the club. Ever since, so they withstood the first 3 or 4 years of protests. They stood there and went, we're not budging. And this is why, because they knew exactly what was going to happen. 6 months earlier, they're I can't remember, it was last year, September or whatever, they're pushing big picture through. They cancelled on that. That was not going to be the end of it. As soon as that happened, as soon as they canned that, they were going to go for something else. And they were planning from the minute that didn't happen. So we've been saying this for 15 years. Everyone's saying we don't have a right to complain because we're United fans, we get everything. Hold on a minute. Our stadium's on the verge of collapse and they don't care. They're taking money out of the club. This was going to happen. So when everyone goes, now they go, oh yeah, they're really not that good owners. We've been saying it for years. We didn't want them in the first place. So carry on.
I was just going to say, it's almost even more insidious, isn't it, at Man City? Because as you say, for 15 years, we've been arguing about the Glazers. And I guess it's hard if you're not a United fan to understand where the arguments from the Glazers came from. I mean, it was understandable straight away, but you've got to remember that United fans were protesting against the Glazers in 2009, right after we'd won a Champions League. So it was purely because we could see what was happening to our club. We could see the growing commercialisation, and we could see how a lot of the money that comes into the club is staying with these relatively few people who are actually taking money out of it. But I'd actually say it's more insidious, and I'd feel really betrayed and hoodwinked if I was a Man City fan. Because these owners have come in, they've done all this to Manchester, they've done this big development in East Manchester, they've done incredible things for the city. Clearly, they have done something which at Manchester City, they're still entwined in their history, because people joke about City not having history and all that. Of course they do. They're one of the oldest football clubs in England, and even if that history wasn't necessarily successful, they still have a deep, long history in this city. And it feels like the owners clearly came in, did and respected that history, and obviously have grown them into this commercial sort of almost a powerhouse. I think it will become that eventually. And then they've essentially turned around and said, well, this was the plan all along. The plan was always to sell the club, sell the fans up the river. And as a City fan, I'd feel like I was lied to for the last 10 years. And the last 10 years would almost feel like I'd just take a lot of the shine away, because they've come in and given those fans the best 10 years of memories of their life.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in. I know you work with Kyle. I don't want to put words in his mouth, or whatever. But he's worked for the club, and he's a massive, passionate fan. You know, you hear it every time you're on the radio, and he loves the club.
My headphones are falling apart. Sorry, boys.
As a diehard fan, you must just feel like you must feel like you've been completely stabbed in the back as a diehard Man City fan, because it's 15 years of progress. You've almost got to the top. You're in the Champions League semi-finals, and they go and do this, and they have just ruined what they've done for the last 15 years. They've shit all over it. And it's such a shame, because they've done so much for the area. You know, we all joke about, as you said, City, no history or whatever. You know, they've only existed since 2008. It's all a joke and it's all funny, but the reality is they've done some really good work. They've done 100 times more than the Glazers have done for United. So they've done a lot. Redeveloped everything. They're supposed to build a new music venue soon as well, and they've now gone and done this. They've ruined their relationship with the fans. And the same applies with, I know Chelsea fans like Abramovich, because he was going to redevelop the stadium or whatever. He was kind of 50-50 in terms of, like, he's now 100% hated at Chelsea because of what he's done. So these owners have made a huge lapse in judgment, massive lapse in judgment. Not forget the top two, because they're the driving force, and we've been protesting for years about these guys. But the others, Daniel Levy as well. He's known for being astute in terms of the way he runs Spurs. I don't like it personally, because he doesn't pay his players as much as they deserve. He brought in a top manager. He had a project with Pochettino where, you know, they managed to get to the Champions League final. And now he's gone and ruined it as well. And they want him out. All of these owners should be kicked out of their football clubs after this, because I don't think it'll happen. But if the Glazers aren't gone within a year of this happening, if we don't drive them out of the club within a year, if there are not regulations put in by the government that stop them from penny pinching, then we've failed as a nation, and they'll do it again. So I'm tired of seeing new projects coming up and go, oh, you know, we stopped it. That's enough. It's not enough. Get rid of the lot of them. Put the 50+1 rule in that Germany have, where the fans have controlling voting rights to the club, and fuck them off, because they are destroying our history, and it's doing my head in.
I've also heard the argument that almost suggests that we as supporters are almost culpable in this. That over the last few years we've shut our eyes a little bit and let this creeping commercialization in football happen. And I would argue against that so strongly, not just because of the fact that United fans have protested, but let's look at other clubs that necessarily haven't had those protests. Manchester City fans, I'm not having a go at City fans for not protesting against what's been happening in the football world for the last 10 years. And maybe it's because they were successful that is a reason that they've not been protesting. But as football fans in this country in particular, and it's definitely, you know, this is the case in Germany as well, I'm sure. But the culture is that it's more like a religion than you don't just wake up one day and think, that's my favorite football team, there we go. You support your football team because of it's inside of you. My dad supported Man United. My grandma supports Man United. I can tell you stories of my uncle coming home from school the day that the Munich air disaster happened and, you know, crying tears in the living room with his family. And And they're the sort of memories that you grow up with, and they become a part of you and become a part of your love for this club. So it's natural that football fans are going to be expected to stick with their club through thick and thin. And this, in what's happened today, what's happened this week, it has shown that there is a line, which I'm almost quite happy with. Almost like it has shown that there is a line in football, and I don't want to get too political on it, but it's the most aggressive example and the most transparent example of aggressive capitalism that I've ever seen. And the reason that so many people are in up in arms about it is because it's so transparent. It's being spoken in a language that we all can understand, and we can see the greed straight in front of us. And oh man, I don't know. Sometimes, every so often, I keep remembering the ridiculousness of it and how it literally can't work. Every single fan is against it, mate. There's no way it can go ahead. It can't.
I saw last night for the first time in God knows how long, Liverpool fans saying they wanted to lose that game against Leeds. They wanted to lose the game to prove a point to the owners that this is a competitive league. This is the best league in the world. Real Madrid and Barcelona are fucked as it stands. Financial trouble. Real Madrid, I know they've just knocked Liverpool out of the Champions League, but they are awful. They really are. They've got a terrible squad, and Perez is just pushing us through because he wants to rebuild the squad, and then he'll be crying in a year's time to get back in the Champions League and back in La Liga. Because they need to rebuild. They need the billions of pounds that this brings them to rebuild the squad because they've messed it up. I can't tell you about Laporta enough, but from the sounds of it, they liked him when he came in, and he's just shit all over that again. They want him out. So all of these clubs, and Elliot, Juventus, he's a prick. He is a prick. Oh, you get knocked out by Porto and Ajax, and then you want to join this league. You have no right to be in there. You have no right to be in there. You just lost to Atalanta. Atalanta, who are a club that have just rebuilt themselves in like 10 years, who are now in the top 4. You just lost to them, and you want to go into this amazing league. Forget it. And Jamie, you are right. Relegate all the clubs, deduct them points, and fine them £1 billion each. Send them into the ground and get these owners out.
Well, I wanted to talk about another sort of. I wanted to focus on Perez specifically because, like Hassan said earlier, it said it's for financial reasons because Madrid, they can't afford, because of COVID, they can't afford to continue without this Super League. But then there's the whole list of confusing things he said moving on from that. So obviously the game isn't enjoyed by 16 to 24-year-olds anymore. So I guess me and Henry, this will be our last ever episode because we've stopped. We didn't actually ever like football in the first place.
See, I've only just started liking football as a 25-year-old. I'm really getting into it now. That's because I'm so much more intelligent than you lot as a 25-year-old. I can actually sit down and enjoy a game. You just watch 10 minutes and you get bored. Fucking kids.
Yeah, exactly. Last year, guys, you didn't care, did you? You didn't give a shit about it.
Didn't give a shit last year. I was too busy on fucking TikTok. Yeah, I'm not arsed.
Henry, I remember that 2016 FA Cup final, probably the last time I've ever felt happy watching football because I was just about to turn 16 watching it, and I thought, God, I can't wait till I'm 25 till I can start watching football again.
I'll tell you what, I'm a year older than you, mate, so that I wasn't watching it. I watched 10 minutes and I got bored. So all of these fantastic games that we've watched over the years, but we've only watched 10 minutes of them. I only watch the highlights, in fact. I don't watch the games. I watch the highlights. I hold my hands up as a United fan. I don't care about the games. I watch the highlights. How's that for you, Florentino, you knob?
And just also, right, surely the main point of this is, I don't know what the culture is like in Spain, but at what period did football have the most 16 to 24-year-olds as fans? Like 30 years ago at United, most of the season ticket holders would probably have been between 20 and 30. You look now, the average age of a season ticket holder is above 45. What's the reason for that? It's because the kids can't afford to go to the games anymore. It's common sense. Kids can't. 16 to 24-year-olds are watching football, but the reason they're not happy is because they're not paying for it, because they can't afford it, because you're pricing them out of the game. And now you want to bring in this Super League and suggest that it's going to be something that 16 to 24-year-olds are going to love. No, they love what they're watching now. They're just not happy that the 16 and 24-year-olds aren't the ones paying the money because they quite simply can't afford it.
It's scandalous. It's scandalous. I've just seen that comment from A Week in Football One where they say if your missus cheats on you and comes back and apologises, would you trust her? I wouldn't burn my missus' house down if she cheated on me, for sure. But I can assure you, United fans right now are thinking of, if they come back, they're thinking of burning Old Trafford to the ground before these fuckers get out. Because, Carragher mentioned it on Monday Night Football last night. If Klopp goes against the owners and they sack him, they will rip that stadium apart, and they will. And United fans will do the same if they just decide to, take our kind of football club away. They'll do the same. They'll rip the ground apart because football is heritage. It's our lives. It is a religion. It's a religion over in Spain. Florentino Perez is just shit all over his own fans. The people that have liked him for so many years for winning, Champions Leagues and league titles, and Zidane's back in and they're trying to rebuild the squad. They've liked him for all of that. And he's gone and shit all over it in one interview. They all hate him now. They all want him gone because he's a narcissist. He's a piece of shit. And he's just said to all 16 to 24-year-olds, you don't like football. You don't care. Hold on a minute. I'll tell you how much we do care. Because after this, they think this is the end of it. I heard reports saying, oh yeah, we'll wait for this to die down, wait for the protests to die down. This is just the beginning. We're going to, that United-Liverpool game, there's going to be thousands of people outside the ground throwing shit at the stadium because they will not have this. So if they think this is the end, they've got another thing coming, because English fans are not like Americans. We don't chant about barbecues and shit. No, we don't do that. We go and we take action because that's how it works over here.
One thing that I am thinking is that, there was a comment then saying if United come out and apologise and pull out of it, would you forgive them? I would, personally. And the reasoning for that being that I think that if this doesn't happen now and it does fall through completely, I think football, and particularly these owners and these greedy people with no interest in football, with only interest in making money, will have realised there is a line. Like, there is a line that you can't cross, and then maybe they'll realise, oh well, this, because let's face it, what is it going to be, like £3 billion for each club or something involved? It's
the first payment is 400 million for accepting an invite.
Brilliant, right? So the money on offer here is ridiculous, and these owners have clearly known this is a possibility for a very, very long time, and maybe they've been working up to this for a very, very long time. If this gets pushed back now, that's it. There's a line that they can't go past now, and that some of these owners will realise, oh well, if I can't go past that line, what's the point? What's the point of me having this football club? Maybe I will just sell it. So now we know where the line is. Maybe it'll start reversing and football could start going back that way. That's me being a real optimist there and trying to find some good in it. But once we've reached the sort of precipice of capitalism to the point where it's no longer in tune with the general populace, then it's got to go the other way a little bit. And that is what football is all about. It's about social cohesion. It's a socialist sport in many ways. And it's about the working man. And maybe this will be the start of us realising, as football fans, we are on a similar page here and we do want similar things. And that's me trying to find a positive, guys. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, it's like there was a comment about the government then. Things are getting bad when Boris Johnson is coming out and publicly slating you for being an elitist society, just helping the rich. That's when it's getting bad. But I just wanted to go back to Perez and how fundamentally horrendous it would be to have him in charge of this league, because other things he said, obviously, I don't know how reliable some of the things are. Other things have been confirmed, but they're on the brink of financial collapse apparently, despite just meeting with Erling Haaland's father and Mino Raiola. He's saying he would like to introduce a rule possibly where matches get shortened because he doesn't think people can be bothered to watch it for 90 minutes. That's one which has been reported. I'm not sure how reliably though. He's just gone on a massive rant, hasn't he, to one of the magazines. He's going on about how much he likes Mbappe and Haaland while being asked about the new Super League. It's just, the guy's a little bit tough. Is this not just a bit worrying that this guy could be in charge of football forever?
They're paying for a stadium right now, right? They're paying for a stadium revamp that's going to cost them over 350 million euros. And he's talking about getting Mbappe and Haaland. The meetings with Haaland were done in the knowledge this was going to happen. I bet you they knew. The preliminary talks were there. Raiola's apparently supporting it. They knew this was going to happen. That's why they had the talks. Because everyone's going to, even me, I'm going, hold on a second. They're having meetings with Haaland. They can't afford Haaland. They can't afford Mbappe. They're struggling to pay their own players. How are they going to afford this? They're not going to raise £150 million by selling a load of 35-year-old journeymen. That's not how it works. That's not how football operates. So I was thinking straight away, there's something amiss with this because they're going over to have conversations. Barca aren't going to plunge themselves €100 million more into debt. They're already $1.5 billion in. How the bank's going to go? Yeah, sure, you can have 150 million more. Now, go hold on a second. No, you can't. That's not how it works. The problem I have with this is it's JP Morgan are backing it, a bank that's got a net worth of 150 billion. So they're more than capable of funding this. And they fund the United's debt at the moment. They funded the takeover for United. Them and the Glazers are like this. They know each other so well. They are both, groups of business people. But in saying that, if we get to a stage where the government have to act, I know you mentioned about Boris and Jeremy Corbyn agreeing on something. The apocalypse has happened. What's going on? But yeah, they're agreeing that we need to keep these clubs in the country. And if they have to buy them off the owners, they will. They've just spent £350 billion on a rescue package for the pandemic. They're more than capable of spending 20 billion or whatever on buying these football clubs out, selling 49% to businessmen and giving the 50+1 to the fans. They're more than capable of doing it. And if it comes to that, and if it means putting new laws in place, they will, because they're going to have to, because they can't. This is a huge part of their economy. This is probably 1 or 2% of their economy in terms of tourism, in terms of revenue. That the UK is a huge footballing area. Even Rangers and Celtic, huge. They can't afford to lose one because it'll be a domino effect. They'll lose them all.
Yeah, fair enough. I just wanted to move on a little bit because it's a good comment that John made here. It's about the remaining fixtures this season and how if we're even allowed to play them, how irrelevant they've become. Now, I get it's a little bit small-minded, and I of course have the wider context in mind, but just focusing solely on this is something that sort of disappointed me as well, because from a United point of view, we were actually on course to have a very good season. The Europa League is very winnable. We've almost secured second place. We're still mathematically in a league title, the title race. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So for that all to sort of, all the hard work by the players to overcome such a woeful start to the season, all the hard work to battle back, win 27 points from losing positions, just for that all to mean nothing now for the rest of the season. Does that not? Is it just me that finds that really depressing? Because I was really looking forward to the end of the season. It was just starting to get excited about United again. Mate,
the United playing at the weekend, like, am I even that bothered about it now? Really, to be honest, like, I'm trying to keep in the mindset that this isn't going to happen. Because I genuinely, like, deep down, if someone asked me to put money on it, there's no way this can happen. This will happen. I think that this, particularly the next 2 weeks, may be very, very messy. And watching United will be more... I don't know. I guess if I was going to the ground, it would be more about making a statement and protesting and making your voice heard a little bit. But now it's just watching it on TV. It does feel a little bit like there's very little point in watching United at the moment. Particularly because of the situation United are in, where it's pretty much, we're going to finish second place. We're not going to move too much in the league. And, you've got the Europa League, but I mean, I know it's not this week that we play, and that's next week, innit? And I just hope it's all sorted out for that, because like, we mock the Europa League and stuff like that, but how much do you just want that back now? Just to be in that mindset that we're in a semi-final in a European competition. And I love the structure of football sometimes. Like, I love that there is this Champions League. And also, I feel like there might be a case of some people saying, oh, well, English fans just never want change. They just never want change to the game. There've been loads of changes to the game, which I don't mind too much. Next season they're going to bring, or the season after, they're going to bring in that UEFA Conference League, which is just a money-making idea. That's all it's there for. It's there to make money for people in UEFA. However, also with that, it brings us a new competition to watch and a new competition for players to experience and teams from leagues that don't usually get European football. So it's giving something to the football pyramid, especially because you can go from that competition to the Europa League and vice versa. It's all linked up. That's positive change that I like. This just isn't.
It's destruction at the highest level.
Yeah, that's it.
It's an attack on every single football fan in this country, not just Premier League fans of the whole pyramid, because they're saying that these top 6 clubs matter, the rest don't. And that's not the case. I'd be happy to see us dock points, everything. Just forget the lot, and then you have West Ham and Leicester fighting it out to win the title. Fuck City, fuck United, fuck the other 4. Put them down the table, relegate them, don't care. But it's got to the stage now where all of the fans of these top 6 clubs want them to get dock points, relegated. I haven't seen a single fan that's opposed to the idea of us getting relegated, because it's what happened. So Juve were in trouble over in their league. I think it was 2006. They're in trouble. They got relegated because they broke rules.
Not match fixing, wasn't it? That.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. This is worse, I'd say. I know match fixing is terrible. This is worse. This is owners going, no one else matters other than these top 6. We're going to drive English football into the ground, because without those top 6 clubs, football does struggle. It does, because they're a huge part of revenue. If you're a Burnley fan, you'd rather watch Burnley against United because you've got a chance of beating a big team than Burnley against Southampton, because it's just another game. It's just another fight. So it's one of those where this is just trying to destroy the fabric of what we've lived for the last however many years. I feel sorry for fans that are older than us. I feel my dad's a United fan. He's watched United for like 40 odd years, 50 years. And he's now got to the stage where he said, I'm not going to watch any more football if this happens. I'm not going to bother. It's pointless. Football doesn't mean anything without this. And it's so devastating, because that group have been through, before Ferguson, when we were shit, we were a cup side, through Ferguson, where the glory is. They've now been through a turbulent 10 years. And now the owners have decided that they want to leave English football. They leave the area that United were born in. So it's terrible. And it's got to a stage where United and Liverpool fans are unified in their hatred for these people. And I'm more than happy to agree with these other rival fans and protest with them. That's fine by me. But this cannot happen, because it will destroy football.
What'll happen if it does? Like, genuinely, let's say the start of the season after next, they say no, it's all officially happening. Then next season, we've not got. I'm guessing you'll have none of the teams that are involved the season after in the Champions League. I genuinely think fans will not go to games. Like, I'm genuinely confident on that one, and that was the only protest that was ever going to work against the Glazers, and it was never.
Sorry, if this goes through, it'll be World War III. I promise you that, because every single football club, they'll find out where these people live. They will. That's how bad it will get. And these people think we're protected by our billions. No amount of money can protect you from football fans when they're pissed. Not just pissed. Yeah,
it's a culture war. That's what it'll be. It'll be instigating a culture war, essentially. And it's hard to express. I think even people who aren't football fans, if you actually explain the situation to them, would be massively pissed off by this. Like, I know plenty of people who aren't interested in football in the slightest and have texted me over the last few days and been like, what is going on? This is absolutely vile. We even saw like James Corden doing it on his late night show last night, and the audience, who clearly didn't understand football, applauding it. And I think you've got people watching at home applauding it. And that's Americans as well, who maybe don't understand why it's such a big issue. I honestly, man, I feel like if it genuinely does go through, like I was saying before, then I don't think you'll have a half full ground. I can't think who would actually go to Old Trafford to watch these games, and also the knock-on effect that it has on the Premier League. I won't be interested in the Premier League or anything. I can't get my head around it, and I can't. It's got to the point where if it did happen and United was still called Manchester United and a club, I genuinely wouldn't feel bad walking away. And I wouldn't feel bad going to even support a lower league. That sounds mad, and I hate saying that, but I do. I am one of those people where I'm on Radio Manchester and stuff, and I'm a Man United fan there, and I am a Man United fan, always have been. But I do kind of like our local sides to do well as well. Obviously, apart from Manchester City, that goes without saying. But like, I would genuinely not feel bad going to one of those lower EFL clubs, because I wouldn't feel like I'm leaving Man United behind. I'd feel very much like they've left me behind.
Well, yeah, just to lighten the mood a bit, Pep Guardiola's just spoken out against it as well.
Has he?
Yeah, he said sport isn't sport without competition, and if you're guaranteed to win every week, it's not sport, it's not proper without competition. So it's got to a stage where if every player just says no, if they just say no, we're not doing this, then they won't have any players to. They can take their own little franchise somewhere else. They can buy up a plot of land in America and they can build a franchise themselves. But you don't do it with United. You don't do it with historic clubs. And they're using the Busby Babes and things like that. And our title, we haven't won under them against us. People died for this club, and they're using it against us.
Look at what City have done, right, over the last few years. Like, genuinely, City have got clubs in so many different countries, in Japan, in Australia, in America. They have got like sister clubs and are part of this City group. This is this big capitalist venture, this big sort of conglomerate of these billionaires and getting together and creating this group. But it still went with the ethics of football. You know what I mean? It was still within the ethics of the game. You had people making a lot of money from it, but there was still ethics to it. And like I say, we can talk about all the different problems and all the different financial problems, but what Pep has spoken about there is the number one issue with this. That is the number one issue, and that is that football, you cannot have a closed league in football. It's as simple as that. If we want to boil it all down to one argument, that's the one.
They've got it in America, which is franchise football. The Americans don't want this. A lot of American people watch the Premier League. They don't want this. It's because a bank is guaranteeing them billions. That's what's happening. If there wasn't these billions being guaranteed and the Champions League could do the same, they wouldn't bother with it. So there needs to be a rule in place now. There has to be change. We called for it a few years ago. Regulations, regulate football owners. By the way, the FA and the Premier League, shame on you. You've done absolutely fuck all to stop these people from coming in and taking over our clubs. When the Glazers took over and bought the club using bank loans, they were fine with it. Oh, it's absolutely fine. If you play with fire, you're going to get burned, and that's what's happened. They haven't just burned the person. They've set the fucking house on fire. That's what they've come in. They've just destroyed everything. And the FA doing these fit and proper checks. What are they doing? Are they just look at the person and go, yeah, you seem like a decent bloke, you can take over the club? They've got to have a proper way of regulating what happens with these clubs. We've seen it with Bury. They've gone under. They're not a club anymore. And then the EFL and FA go, oh yeah, we're so sorry, we didn't mean it. Hold on, there needs to be a change in rules, because it's now not happened to the small clubs that the FA and the EFL don't care about, because that's what happens. They don't care. It just goes through the cracks. But it's got to a stage where it's the top clubs in the country now, and everyone cares. They are gonna destroy football, and they're doing it. The FA are terrible. I know people say they're trying to change things and whatever. They can try all they want. They need to be able to regulate what these people are doing. Stop them from going abroad. That should be in one of the rules. I don't know how they're going to allow this Super League to happen. There should be a rule prohibiting that from happening. if you're part of this league, if you're part of this country, you don't join another league other than these specific ones. It doesn't happen. Unless there's an agreement between all 20 clubs that you can all go in and it happens that way, it should not be allowed to happen. So they've been sitting on their asses looking at this thinking, yeah, no one's going to have the bollocks to do that. Someone has the bollocks to do it and they go, oh my God, they're going to destroy football. That is their fault. It's their fault in the first place. They shouldn't have allowed it to happen, and they have.
Mm-hmm.
Right over.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, sorry, I was just going to say, like, I totally agree with what with a few of the points that Henry's making there, and the regulations on owners. Obviously, there should have been more in place, but I feel like in many ways we are saying that, and we're not saying that in hindsight because we've all been saying it over the last 15 years. But it is almost a little bit in hindsight now because we've realised what the end idea was for these owners. But I don't think I genuinely thought this was ever going to be even get to this point where they've actually officially announced it. I just thought this was a ridiculous, pipe dream that these owners have, but it was never going to work with football. And I think that maybe the people regulating and the people at the FA also thought the same thing, that thought at the very least the English football pyramid will always be in place, and now it's not.
James, what do you reckon is going to happen? Because we haven't heard your take on this in terms of the club and what do you make of the whole situation? Because I'm going to assume you're a little bit pissed off by it too. But yeah, what do you make of what these, not just what the Glazers have done, but what all of these owners are trying to do?
Well, I'm not even pissed off by it. I can't big myself up enough to be that angry. I'm more just completely empty at the fact that this sport that is my life, has been since I was 5 years old, is going to be over. The career I want to pursue in the future, writing about football, is over. Where do I, if this happens, where do people like me and you go from here? Even you guys, your career on the radio is based around football. Where do we go from here? Livelihoods are getting ruined for an extra 100 million to these people who are already worth billions. It makes me feel empty. I wanted to actually pose a question to you two as well, because it's all well and good us saying, yeah, we'll protest against it, blah 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 blah. But we've seen now firsthand that fans are nothing to these clubs anymore. Well, not to the clubs, the owners. Sorry, I should make that a point. That Manchester United as a club, I still love the club, but it's the owners that are ruining it. But how does this get stopped? Because fans will not affect this in the slightest. These football clubs can continue without fans in the stadium. You don't turn up to a game, they don't care. The Premier League can't really do anything. The Premier League can't compete with the finances that are involved with this that's going on. I don't know how specifically the government are planning to go about it, but realistically, we can have all these protests we want, but we're nothing but numbers on a spreadsheet to this club. We're not people to this club. So I'll ask you first, guys, how realistically does this get stopped?
I think it's very realistic that this gets stopped. I've never seen quite as much anger and general disdain for an idea as I have done this one. Like it's actually mad. Like I was saying before, it's not just football fans; it's everyone. I think the fact that you've got the government involved now, and even a conservative government as well, saying that they don't want this to happen and they won't let this happen. It's almost it's become a political tap-in, hasn't it, really, for any of these parties? Obviously, the money involved is absolutely eye-watering, and you don't know if payments are being shifted from one place to another, and maybe people's opinions will change. But I was massively encouraged when I heard Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, talk out about it. I've got to stop calling him Boris. It feels like he's your best mate when you call him Boris. But I think that it's got to stop at a government level. And I think that I genuinely think there's been an outpouring of support so extreme that any political party can use this as a political football, if you like, and they should do as well, because it's almost guaranteed either votes or guaranteed votes of the other party if you go against it. Like, that is how big this is. That is how important football is to a massive majority of the population in this country. You're literally, I know it sounds mad, but the Liberal Democrats at the next election could say, we're the only party keeping football as it is, or we're the only party keeping football. And they'd probably win. Like, I know it sounds mad, but they'd probably win. That is how big we're talking here. And I do think it'll stop from a government level. And I believe it or not, have a little bit of faith in the government not messing this one up.
So just before I come to you, Henry, I just wanted to sort of ask, I don't know the full details of it or anything, but how do you think the government stops this? I'm not sure if it's a point that's been made or not yet, but do they make it illegal for this Super League to come about? Do they threaten the owners that are on about doing it with punishments and sanctions and everything? Because unless they make new laws and stuff like that, other than the 50+1 rule that they could bring in, I don't see legally how they could stop it.
Is that to me or to Gaz?
Either.
Gaz, go first. No, go on.
Mate, maybe you're a bit more clued up on the legal side of things than me. I just assume that something like this is an instigation of a culture war almost. And that in itself is enough for the government to actually do something, and for the government to see that all of these clubs are so important to their communities that it would actually tear a hole in the fabric of British culture. And it sounds like I'm going too far here and I'm being really too extreme, but I don't think I am, because they're destroying football. They're literally getting rid of the game. So I think that on itself is basis enough for the government to do something. I'm not sure about, punishing owners and stuff like that. Maybe not, but at least putting limits on football. This is what I was saying before about maybe we've reached the barrier here and maybe we know where the limit is now and it's only got one way to go from here, but we'll see.
I think, to be fair, there's something that I've always thought about is if something bad happens with football, the government in charge at that moment in time will be held responsible for the rest of their lives for not stopping it. And that is enough to make change. Laws and stuff, in terms of laws, there isn't much you can do. They wouldn't have made a kind of proposal like this if they didn't have lawyers in the first place to do it. They'd have asked them, can we do this? How can we do this? When can we do it? What's the best way that we can propose it without breaking any laws? So they'll have lawyered up and they'll know exactly what they're doing. But it's just such a shame that it's happening to our game right now, where we as fans, we are irrelevant, and the pandemic has destroyed any kind of notion that we aren't, because we're not in stadiums and football still continues. That's why football is a big part of revenue. Fair enough, for the government and stuff, but fans are nothing. James is right. Fans are nothing. The stadium revenue is nothing compared to TV money. So it's got to the stage now where we haven't been in the grounds for a year and they've thought, okay, it doesn't make that much of a dent, to be honest. If we were protesting right now, things would change. I genuinely think they would. I think fans would be on the pitch in the middle of games, stopping them from happening. And I don't think players would be opposed to that. But the only thing that can stop it now is either the government and the players and managers saying no. The players and managers need to turn around and be unified in saying no. As terrible as it sounds, forget about the other 14 clubs, because their managers can say no what they want, but that doesn't matter. But if you're saying no to your employers, like Klopp did yesterday, like Milner did, Milner just straight up said, I don't like it. I don't want it to happen. If you say that, if every player says that in the club, I heard there was a disagreement between Maguire and Ed Woodward, when Maguire turned around and said, hold on a minute, you've just thrown us under the bus. You've thrown our manager under the bus. Fuck you. That's how it should be. Say it in public. Say it when they ask you questions before games.
I think that's coming. I think it's one of them. I put a tweet yesterday saying it was just a joke saying I can just picture Marcus Rashford taking off his Clark Kent glasses and getting in a phone box right about now. But that wasn't me saying I expect him to do that, because I feel so sorry for the players. in this situation. The fact that none of them have been spoken to before this, and the fact that some of them have been expected to speak to the media, putting under that pressure where they don't know what's going on. I don't think the players should be saying anything just yet, because at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen yet. I think the players should come out and say something when they know for a fact that this is definitely happening. It's all in place, and that's when they should speak out. I do just want to say like something, and just something I was thinking. Then just one of the most insulting things about all this, for a lot of lads, like we know we've got and maybe I'm going too deep with this here, but we know we've got a mental health crisis with young men in this country, and for a lot of lads, lockdown has been probably the toughest time of their life, not being able to see people, being isolated like they have been. And for a lot of these lads, one of the most important things has been football, just being able to watch the team on TV, because these are lads who probably don't have that much to do in life and don't feel like they fit in the society that they live in. But they've been able to watch the football team, and that's where they do have that sense of family and that sense of community. And for a lot of lads, I imagine that football has got them through lockdown. So the fact that we're coming to the end of lockdown now, we're coming to the end of the coronavirus pandemic, which we've all got through together. And now they're essentially being told that the one thing in life that's got them through these last few months is being taken away, and that the people in charge of the clubs that they love so much and have given so much of their life to is being taken away. And I think that's just a disgrace, and I can't imagine how abandoned those guys feel.
I'm completely on board with that as well. I'm one of those who, you know, even like now, would I go to a pub now? Probably not. I don't really fancy drinking because of the pandemic and whatever. And you know, you get out of the habit of doing it because, you know, I love watching games on the TV. I love analyzing games, and I love doing podcasts, and I love the conversations that brings football. And you know, when stadiums back open, going out with my mates to watch football, it's such a thing to look forward to. And you know, going to a United game. I mean, I went to the Wolves game before the pandemic hit, and it was just fantastic. I just loved it. It's amazing to watch your club and the club that you love so much, and you know, and you can go out and have fun. And you're all in the same boat as football fans. You can be 5'2", or you can be 6'4", or you can be whoever. That you're all in the same, no matter, you know, race, difference, gender, doesn't matter. You're all in the same boat as a football fan, all in the same boat as a United fan, and you all love the game. And I think you're spot on when you say it's devastating that these guys are just going to take away livelihoods for money, and the reserve and academies and everything. They'll just be gone. There won't be any. United are not going to, if we move abroad, we're not going to produce a youth academy, produce players, we'll just buy them. So our club's history will go down the drain. And I'm with you in the sense, Gaz, that I don't think it will happen, but I think players have got to speak out now. They have to. Because if they don't speak out now, and this does happen, they'll regret it for the rest of their lives. You know, forget the owners employing them or whatever. Forget whether they sack them or whether they get rid of them. If Marcus Rashford turned around and said tomorrow, I don't like this, I don't want it to happen, the Glazers, you know, cancelled his contract, we would burn that ground to ashes. We would. It would be destroyed. We'd find Ed Woodward's house. I feel sorry for it, but it would be smashed to shit. Because
I just want to make it clear that I will not be finding Ed Woodward's house, and I will not be smashing anything to shit. I am distancing myself from these comments.
Neither will I. But it happened before when fans didn't like him. You know, fans take things to the extreme. They take it to heart. Everything is taken to heart.
You're right, and I'm not like encouraging anything like that. But I suppose looking at it logically, the fact that it's happened before with you know, previous issues, this is a totally different issue. This is like the most extreme issue ever.
Yeah, this is 100 times worse.
Looking at it logically, it probably would happen again, and we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. But
no, we don't want to see it. But that's how it is. It'd be nationwide violence in the country. It would, and it's sad that it comes to that. But they don't understand it. They didn't understand the game. Joel Glazer doesn't even understand the offside rule. It took him 2 years or something. How can you buy a football club and not understand the offside rule? How dumb can you be? It's not that difficult. So yeah, it's one of those where United.
Fucking hell, I had an ex-girlfriend who didn't know anything about football. I managed to explain the offside rule in 5 minutes using a couple of salt and pepper shakers. It's not that difficult, is it?
No, it's not. And my missus loves football now. She gets it. She understands it. She'll watch a game with me, and she's like, "Okay, I can understand why you like it." She's not, she's not a mad football fan or whatever, but she likes the game, and she understands why I like it. She understands why it's so important to everything we do. She gets it. A lot, it's not just the old football fan. It's everyone that gets it. It's a common topic of conversation for everyone. If you're at a pub with someone and you're pissed up and you don't know what to talk about, you talk about football, they'll know what you're talking about. They'll know. You go, oh, yeah, Harry Kane's a great player, but he's a bit of a knob for signing a new contract. Spurs. Okay, yeah. And you're best mates the next minute. That's how football works. Without that, you lose culture. It is like a religion. It's like walking up to someone of a specific religion and just punching them in the face. That's what it is. That's what they're doing to us. I know it sounds terrible, but football is that bad. What they're doing.
Henry, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but I've just had a thing come through that Jordan Henderson has called an emergency meeting with Premier League captains to discuss the Super League. So
brilliant.
Hopefully, that's a step in the right direction.
Well done.
I don't think Henderson's a fantastic player, but I've always said I liked him as a person. I think he's
a good bloke.
Great thing. So call the captains. All of them speak out and say, "Fuck you lot, get out." If you want to take us over to America, try. You can drag us onto the plane, but it won't work. Won't happen. So
what's also interesting is Manchester City's official Twitter account are tweeting the Pep quotes, which is mental. That's mental.
They'll turn. There's already. I know the BBC have had conflicting reports from Sky and whatever, but it's also going to come out now, and I trust Sky a little bit more. Sorry, BBC. Sorry, Simon Stone. Whatever. I apologise, but I trust Sky a little bit more with their reports because they're usually more correct. So I believe now that when so Pep's saying this at a convenient time when City are supposedly getting cold feet on this. This will die in the water, hopefully within the next week. I hope it does. And I hope Solskjaer comes out in his Friday press conference and says, I've had time to review it. I don't like it. Because as far as I'm concerned, if he goes, yeah, I like the idea, he's complicit. And I'm sorry to say it, but he said stuff before and agreed with the Glazers, isn't he? I think he said the exact words of the Glazers have invested a lot of money into Manchester United a couple of years ago, and there was uproar about that. But he will not turn his back on the United fans now. It won't happen. He'll see the reaction. He won't turn his back. None of the managers or players and the other clubs meeting as well. I reckon they'll say punish them. Rightfully so. They'll want us in the league next year. They will, because you're not going to have United in the Championship because the Championship will get watched more than the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly.
So they need the clubs in the Premiership, but they'll fine us and everything, and that's fine by me. That's absolutely fine. I want us to get relegated, but it won't happen. But that's fine by me. So there needs to be change, and hopefully, when we're next on here, things will have been killed, stopped dead in the water. There is no way that this can be pushed through because there'll be global uproar.
I mean, lads, I know we're coming to the end now, but I just want to say to everyone who's a little bit maybe still very, very worried about it, seriously worried. In my heart of hearts, still don't think it'll happen. And I think that in a week's time, we'll be discussing what an incredible response we've had from the wider footballing world about this, and how everyone has come together against greed and corruption of our game, if you like, corruption of what we thought of football. So, yeah, that's my final word on it. That I don't think it will happen.
Yeah, I'll try to say one little bit before we go. Yeah, kind of echoing those words in a sense, guys. Just don't do anything stupid. Keep happy. Try to football is going to be shit for the next week, and it will feel meaningless until this is over. I completely understand that. I'm of the same situation where tonight I don't care about the game. I'll watch the preamble and stuff because it'll be about something that's relevant, but I don't care about the result. I don't care about the game. But keep your heads up, and I know this is the feels like the final nail in the coffin, but it's not, because we'll be brought back to life in a week, and these people will be hopefully held accountable and held responsible for their hideous actions towards football.
Hope you're right.
Yeah, I think that's a adequate way to end it. So we'll draw a line under it there. Massive thank you, Gaz, for coming on. You've been brilliant as ever.
Anytime,
really appreciate
mate, anytime.
it. And a massive thank you to everyone who contributed. We got a load more comments than we've ever really experienced of people giving their opinions. So we really appreciate you joining us. If you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe for more content like this. And Henry, thanks as ever for joining me. And we'll see you hopefully see you next week if we've got an episode coming up. But yeah, keep your heads up. Football's coming home. It's never in doubt. All the best.
Manchester United are the champions of Europe again.